So I know you all have been waiting for lunch and I'm not going to keep you for a really long time. This event has really come a full circle, right from starting from women in leadership, the keynote address being delivered by Ms. Anuradha Thakur, and then moving on from the journey of finding out about your emotional balance, emotional intelligence, financial intelligence. I don't think there's anything that I can probably add in terms of content to it. But yes, I would definitely like to discuss about essentials, the basic essentials of leadership that gender neutrally we all face today. Not as women. In fact, I may sound very controversial when I say that I have a problem with the banner today when I say women in leadership. I want to ask the men in the audience, how many of you have ever attended a men in leadership conclave? Anybody ever attended a men in leadership conclave? Then why do we need to celebrate the women by specifically creating a women in leadership conclave? When we talk about, it feels like an insult to me when somebody refers to me as a womanpreneur, when somebody calls me a shepreneur. I am as much of an entrepreneur as a male counterpart who's doing the same business in the same verticals that I am. So bringing that conversation back to essentials of leadership, allow me a couple of minutes to introduce myself as to who I am, and then we'll have an interactive round. I always prefer interactive conversations rather than one-sided monologues because they turn out to be very boring, and particularly more so when lunch is awaiting, right? All right. So this is Rimjhim Mukherjee. I'm a strategic sales evangelist with almost 1.5 decades of experience in exponential growth enablement and business development. I proudly call myself as the storyteller who sells because I believe stories stick on to you, and the learnings that you hear from the stories are something that you retain rather than just lectures and talks. By my brains, I already told you I'm a salesperson. Currently, I handle the portfolio of expansion of DHI in about 145 countries across the world, primarily by franchising and distribution. By my heart, I'm a classically trained singer and dancer because of the Bengali gene in me. Very passionate about celebrating the cause of women in leadership. And in that capacity, I head the state presidentship of WICI for Sales and Business Development Council Delhi chapter, and a mentor on the platforms of Iron Lady, Sales for Mentoring, AICTE, and Symbiosis University. Just yesterday, I was delivering a lecture to the incoming BBA, MBA students about what to expect in the next 3 years. And when I was looking across the room, 80% of it were males, as in male children, and only 20% females. And that got me thinking, what kind of women in leadership are we really talking about? If the children have such kind of a diverse ratio in a class, these are the children that are going to be future leaders of tomorrow. Yes or no? I hope everybody agrees with me on that. Yeah? So let's start. Let's start with where we fail that we need to have a women in leadership conclave. Number one, in the belief mindset. Anybody here who has ever, when they were growing up, had something like this said to them, that हमारे घर की बेटियां ऊंची आवाज में बात नहीं करती? Anybody here? Oh, brilliant. Thank you, ma'am, for confirming that. So I had a participant in one of my leadership classes. She was suffering with this problem in her corporate that I have this inertia of speaking when there is a meeting and there are about 8 males around me and I have to put across my point. I feel very scared. I'm not able to speak up. I said, go back to your childhood and figure out, was there an incident that first and foremost instilled this belief in you that you're not supposed to speak at a male in front of a lot of males? And once we deep dived into that childhood, she came across with this incident that yes, my grandfather always used to tell me, please be low in your voice because हमारे घर की लड़कियां ऊंची आवाज में बात नहीं करती. And this, हमारे घर की लड़कियाँ ऊंची आवाज़ में बात नहीं करती, it stayed on with her in her subconscious mind as a belief system that stops her till date in professional conversations. She's the VC. She's the vice chancellor of a very reputed university. Till date, this belief mindset has stayed on in her subconscious mind. We all purchase dresses from Myntra, right? I'm addressing the girls in the room. I'm hoping boys purchase it from somewhere else. So if I address the girls in the room, all of you have purchased a dress from Myntra at some point of time, and it has turned out to be fabulous. It has looked fabulous on you. Yes? One question to you. When you put on that dress, do you have the dress on you, or do you become the dress? Yes, ma'am. Do you have that dress on you, or do you become that dress? You have the dress on you, right? Who has the remote control that, can I get a movable mic? I mean, that will serve me better. Yeah, thank you. Hello? Yeah. So Myntra we were talking about, right? So when this lovely woman told me that she has on a dress and she does not become that dress. So who gets the remote control when she decides to take off that dress? She herself, I believe. Now she's worn it for 2 years, it's been looking fabulous on her, she's been getting compliments all over. And all of a sudden it tears off. Out of wear and tear, it just gets torn from one side. And she's not going to be wearing that dress anymore, right? What will she do? She'll go on Myntra and purchase another one, right? So the belief is like that discardable dress. Yes, you face failures, yes, you face disappointment, yes, you face rejections in life. Please cry over it, please be upset with yourself, curse yourself when you go to sleep in the night. But remember that this belief that you have, that I'm a loser, I'm a failure because of the instant rejection that I've faced just now, is like that discardable dress that I bought from Myntra. You can discard your belief anytime that you want to. Second, how many in the woman audience can say that they are shameless? And is being shameless a good word and a bad word? Yes, ma'am. Is shameless a good word or a bad word? Considered bad? What do you think? Depends situation-wise. Now, of course, I'm not saying being shameless means you take off all your clothes. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, right. Of course, I'm not going to do that. But having said that, we women are fearful of being shameless when we negotiate for ourselves. Unfortunate truth of life is that you will never get what you deserve. You will only get what you negotiate. I may deserve a husband who looks like Hrithik Roshan, but I'll end up with a guy who has a bald head and a fat belly. That's what I negotiated for. So you only get what you negotiate for. And be shameless in that negotiation when you ask for yourself. Coming from a saleswoman, sales which is predominantly a male profession, correct? Being in sales, somebody had that question, how do people handle women bosses, or women bosses handling male teams is very difficult, right? So shamelessly start asking for what you want, because the problem is women are very good at doing what they do. You are super good, every single one of you in your work. But we are very bad at projecting to the world how good we are at what we do. So from today onwards, let's shamelessly speak about our achievements, speak about our accomplishments, and also set the expectation high enough that this is what I want and I won't settle for anything which is less than that or anything which is subpar. Third point. Does anybody know here the theme for this year's International Women Day? What was the theme? There was a hashtag that was trending. Yeah, no, not gender neutral. That break the bias. Many of you must have seen those photographs on LinkedIn with the hands crossed and break the bias. Very nice hashtag. And it was trending for quite some time, right? Break the bias. Everybody agrees to it in the room? The males there? You agree to it? Break the bias? I think the last decade, we've been talking a lot about women empowerment, bringing women up, putting across their self-confidence to the highest level, making them realize their potential, a lot of attention and limelight has shifted onto the women. I want to bring that limelight back to men. Sounds a little odd. Break the bias for women. But who is building the men of our society? Who is building the men to deal with these women who break the bias? Who is building the men to ensure that they are emotionally capable enough to handle women who are successful, to handle women who are breaking the bias? So along with breaking the bias, let us also trend the hashtag build the men, so that we build the community together rather than just focusing about women. Fourth point, living with a sense of purpose. Women are very good at doing what they do. Like ma'am said, we try to be perfectionists all the time. We are very good at what we do. We are very bad at delegating the work to somebody else. Let's say, anybody in a corporate job here? I mean, most of you are, but if somebody can just raise their hand, so I'll use that as a reference, okay. What's your name, ma'am? Deepika. So let's say Deepika gets a call from her boss at 8 o'clock in the night. Deepika, I need this PPT made tomorrow by 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, what is Deepika's state of mind? He's such a beep, 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 beep. Again, I'm not going to name it, yeah. But since it's the boss, so she got to pull an all-nighter and make that presentation. Yes or no? Now imagine another conversation. Deepika's boss calls her up and tells her, you know what, Deepika, there's a foreign delegation coming tomorrow. And they have a busy schedule, but I have managed to take half an hour slot from them from 6:30 to 7 o'clock. If you could make the presentation by 6 o'clock, I would, go and sit with them and try and close that order. Now what is Deepika's mindset? Deepika is still cribbing. Because that is our birthright as employees, that we have that birthright to crib at our bosses. That is our birthright. But now she will feel a sense of purpose to that task. She will do it grumblingly, but still she will feel better attached to that work. Anybody here who disagrees with that? Deepika, do you disagree? Right? So, living with a sense of purpose. We are so good at handling the task and doing it perfectly that we fail at the communication part of it. So if you can communicate to your teams, I'm assuming you all are at fabulous roles in your organizations, and you're all at mid-level or senior level people handling teams or handling cross-functional stakeholders. If you can communicate the urgency and the purpose of your work effectively, half of the work is done there itself. And as they say, well begun is half done. Right. Thank you. Another next point is, and which is the last point, setting an example with a choice that you have of the kind of leadership that you want to do. You have that example. Maybe we've all heard of this example once before also. When a bahu becomes a saas, right? She has two choices. Number one is, मैं अपनी बहू के साथ वही करूँगी जो मेरी सास ने मेरे साथ किया था. Yes or no? The other choice is, मैं अपनी बहू के साथ वो कभी नहीं करूँगी जो मेरी सास ने मेरे साथ किया था. So you decide, and you don't have to tell it to me whether you already do it or don't, but you decide which kind of a saas you want to be. Not a saas in the corporate world, but which kind of that leader do you want to be? Do you want to be the person who does exactly what, shit travels? We've heard this very often in corporate world, shit travels bottoms down. So you get some shit from your boss, you transfer that on to your teams, and the team then further process it down. So you get to decide where to stop, where to bring that to a filter. How to bring that to a filter. You decide what kind of mother-in-law you want to be, right? With that, I am almost at the end of my session. I will leave you with two statements. People who know me, like Nidhi and Bhattacharya madam, People who know me, they know that I twist quotations. Okay? I take world famous quotations and I take pride in ruining them. Right? So the first one of them is forgive and, as women we are very good at doing that. So forgive and, can somebody please complete the sentence for me? Forget, right? My takeaway for you from this session today would be forgive everyone, you, others, but never ever forget the lesson that it taught you. Never forget the lesson that it taught you, because if you forget the lesson, somebody might do the same thing once again and take charge of your vulnerability once again. And if that happens, then we have no choice but to call you an idiot. And that's not something anybody of us would like to be named, right? Life keeps throwing us ball after balls. Life is like a cricket match, you know? You keep getting ball after ball. Some balls you'll throw it out for a six. Some balls you'll throw it out for a boundary. Some you got to duck. Some you will get out. Howsoever good you are, you will get out, right? So when life keeps throwing ball after ball, what do? When life throws you lemons, another quotation. What do when life throws you lemons? Make lemonade? No. Okay. I am not suggesting anything, it's a weekday, but still, let me ruin that quotation for you. When life throws you lemons, particularly for the women, right? Because the men are already doing that. When life throws you lemons, go to the nearest alcohol store, buy a tequila, take a peg, suck on the lemon, and get a kick out of life. Thank you so much, that was my time. How does this switch off?
Rimjhim, I would request you to be on the stage for a minute, please. Thank you for that very interesting session and for some practical advice. May I please invite Nidhi and Mr. Vipul Agarwal, EC member IEIA, to please felicitate Rimjhim.